first of these is out in cinemas this week, and it's a film called The Blackening. And in The Blackening, there are seven friends who get together for a reunion in a creepy, not particularly creepy, house in the woods. And when they get there, they find a games room with a board game called The Blackening. And they find that this board game is a little bit different. Once you start the game, you have to finish it. Right, here's a clip.
Probably runs on racism.
Pick a card and save Morgan.
What do you mean, save Morgan?
Refuse to play, and she dies.
I think we have to play the game. In your predicament, the black character is always the first to die. I will spare your lives if you sacrifice the person you deem the blackest.
The blackest?
Nobody should judge anybody in here, bro.
You have 2 minutes to decide.
Wait.
Y'all can't pick me. I'm gay.
Oh, Clifton.
Yeah.
I can prove I'm not the blackest.
Prove it.
I've never seen Friday. I voted for Trump.
What?
Twice.
Okay, Andy, let's start with you. What did you make of The Blackening?
Yeah, strange one, really. A group of friends hire a cabin in the wood and find a spooky board game. I mean, what could go wrong? We've been here many, many times before. The film is trying to do something a little bit different in it. It's saying, well, we've got an all-black cast, and obviously black characters tend to die first in horror films, to which my answer was, haven't you seen Get Out? And there was a number of other films where, the black character survives. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. I thought the film was trying to say something. It didn't say it very well, because we just went through the usual tropes that we go through, the usual routine that we go through, of a group of friends, cabin in the wood, spooky board game, nothing new, nothing original, nothing that we hadn't seen before. Could have been something special, could have made a few really good points about racism and so on, but I felt they got lost in those points got lost in the mundaneness of it all. To me, it was a pretty mundane film that I've seen hundreds of times before, with mixed cast, all white cast and all black cast now. It didn't achieve its objective for me. Just too mundane, if I'm honest, and not scary at all.
Yes, indeed.
That's my review.
Emma?
Some similar views to Andy on this one. The trailer made it look very different to what the final product was. I was looking forward to it for the humour, and from the trailer I thought, this looks more like it's verging on spoof, which is very much not the case. Although, yes, it is, it does spoof a lot of various horror films, throughout its runtime. Only a few of I'm calling them jokes. They're not really jokes, but little skits worked for me. The ones that did work were fantastic, and I really did enjoy them, but I found it very predictable for the fact that it is like every other horror film you've seen. And I think to lead the trailer with the black person dies first and have that joke in there, it really didn't live up to the level it was sort of throwing out there. And I did like some of the characters. I thought what they were acting with worked, and the whole group had a very good rapport. It was really obvious who done it.
What was it?
I
wasn't sure.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure about that. I agree, Emma. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is something good in there, but I just don't think it needed to commit to whether it wanted to be a horror thriller film or a comedy. Horror, and I don't think it did. Yeah, just full on, just go for it. But it didn't settle either way.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it did.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I also felt that as a comedy, it was aiming a lot of jokes at a black American audience. And there's a version of the trailer which shows a preview audience watching this completely black audience. And they're having a whale of a time, apparently, laughing at a lot of the stuff that, must admit, went over my head like a 6-year-old watching Barbie. I actually didn't know that Friday was a particularly black film that we heard in that clip there. I've never seen it. And until it had appeared in frame.wtf, the daily movie guessing game the day before I went to see the film, I wouldn't have got that joke at all. So there's a lot of jokes like that which kind of zipped over my head, which if they'd all landed, might have accelerated it more. I also didn't think I described it in my review as a cross between Jumanji, a scary movie, being the takeoff of the other horror films, and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from last year, which I actually quite liked as a kind of people trapped in a house kind of horror light film. And it didn't quite decide to be any of those in particular. And it didn't. I thought the potential here was for it to be a really nice kind of retake on Jumanji, but the board game was kind of irrelevant looking. They might have just as well have a stack of question cards and a 2-minute timer. I expected more, as in Jumanji, for the board game to play something more of a part in the film. And the ending, once we got past like the first reel, the whole thing turned into pretty much a farce as they kind of went outside of the house. And it kind of lost me at that point. So I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity. I also had a problem, I have to say, with the language in the film, and I've made this point in numerous films, that I understand that the use of the N-word has been kind of procured by blacks. I still find it offensive in its use in the film, said by black people. And I think a lot of black people as well never use that word and are offended by it as well, as they rightly should. So I just find that distasteful in lots of films. And I think the last time I said it on this podcast was for Creed 3, right back in our edition 1 or 2 of the podcast. But it still applied to this, and I just don't like that in films. Yeah, so bit of a disappointment. Didn't go where I really wanted it to go. I mean, it was watchable, wasn't it? It was watchable. I gave it a 6 out of 10, but I've got a feeling I might have been generous there. Andy?
Yeah, you just reminded me that the actual board game itself was pretty irrelevant because it was just a second question. So I was going to go for 5, but now you've reminded me that I'm going to go for a 4.
Okay. Emma?
I'm going to do you some good maths here because I was straight down the middle with a 5.
Okay, that's great. So that's 15 divided by 3 gives it a Flickering Dreams score for the Blackening of 5.0, making it a... Okay.